Greetings everyone, hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Let's get right back into some more Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous content. So I have finally completed the beta, which means we can get back into making some more builds for the game. Honestly, I want to use this last month before the full release to dig into as many of these subclasses as we possibly can. And I figured a good place to start would be the Winter Witch, because multiple people have messaged me about it and want to see the mechanics and how it works. So let's dig in and see if we can make a good build with that particular type of character. So I'm going to be an elf. We'll pick the elf picture. So we're going to start off with the Elemental Witch, because in order to get Winter Witch, you need at least a 5 in Knowledge Arcana, and you need to have access to arcane spells at level 3. Go ahead and pick an elf. Keep the base heritage. And then for the background, we'll pick the Wanderer. I specifically wanted something that is going to give her perception, and I didn't feel like guard really fits with this type of character. And then for stat distribution, we're going to dump strength. You get a +2 bonus in dexterity automatically. You take a -2 hit in constitution, but I actually go ahead and dump the points in there to get it up to 12. You don't want to leave constitution low. It'll just cause you to get one-shotted. And then we brought intelligence up to 20 and put a couple of points in charisma to help with our persuasion checks. And then for skills, I'm going Knowledge Arcana, Knowledge World. Definitely want Persuasion. I like having Perception. I feel like everybody on your team honestly should have Perception. And then use Magic Device, of course, makes sense with this character. For your first feat, I will go ahead and get Point Blank Shot. I'm going to ignore that thumbs down that they have on it, because you automatically get that ray, which increases as your witch levels up. So you want to be competent with that as soon as possible. For your familiar, you can pick whatever you want. I like the hair because it gives you a bonus on initiative checks and perception checks. Winter. Elemental. So here's the elemental ray that I spoke about. Give you a 1d6 energy damage plus 1d6 of additional damage for every 3 witch levels as a ranged touch attack. And then for your level 1 spell, you definitely want Mage Armor. You do not need to pick up Snowball. It's going to automatically give you that because you've chosen the Winter Patron. So the rest of this is up to you. For Deity, we're going to go Gyrona, Chaotic Evil. Skip the appearance. Choose whatever voice you prefer. And then at level 2 for your first Hex, I will get Slumber. It's absolutely fantastic against enemies at this level. For your 3rd level feat, I get Precise Shot. For your level 3 feat, I would get False Life and See Invisibility. At level 4, increase intelligence and continue to increase intelligence through your level ups. For your 4th level Hex, I would get Evil Eye. For your 5th level feat, I would get Spell Penetration. And for your level 3 spell, I would get Heroism and Dispel Magic. Now at level 6, you should be able to get your 1st level in Winter Witch. For your 7th level feat, get Greater Spell Penetration. And for the Hex, get Fortune. For your level 4 spells, remember that your patron will automatically give you Ice Storm, so no need to select it. I'll get False Life Greater. And then hopefully you have somebody else on your team who is going to cast Death Ward on your entire party so that you don't have to use up all those slots. But if you don't have that, I would definitely recommend you go ahead and get Death Ward. Otherwise, Dimension Door is also really nice to have. For your level 9 feat, get Spell Focus, Evocation, and then the Cackle Hex. For the level 11 feat, get the Greater Spell Focus, Evocation, and then get Restless Slumber. Now here at level 6, you're automatically going to get another Great Ice spell. So if you can, you want to use all your slots to be able to cast that. However, if you don't have anybody else on your team that can cast Heroism Greater, you definitely want to go ahead and take it, and then you should be the one making sure that gets casted on all of your team. And it wouldn't be bad to also have Dispel Magic Greater available as well. At level 13, get Elemental Focus, Cold. And then for your level 7 spells, I feel like Ice Body just fits right in with this overall build, even though it's Transmutation. A couple of other notes. True Seeing Communal is absolutely essential in this game. So you should hopefully have a cleric or someone else who can cast it. But if you don't, you're going to need to pick that up. And then Legendary Proportions. It does cost a dinosaur bone, which are actually not plentiful in this game at all. But it's well worth it for the huge increase in damage it gives for your melee-oriented party members. Outside of those two though, since you already specialize in evocation, even though it's not a cold spell, I do recommend going ahead and picking up Chain Lightning. And then for your level 15 feat, go ahead and get Great Elemental Focus Cold. For your level 8 spell, go ahead and get Frightful Aspect. And then for the last feat I can show you, go ahead and get Improved Initiative. Okay, so now that we've finished going through the character levels, let's get into the Mythic Path options. Mind you, there's a bug in the game right now where if you respec your main character, it clears the mythic options that you selected previously, but does not allow you to select new options. Because of that, I can't show you directly what I would select for a specific mythic path, but I will read to you what I would select, so that way you can still use this build while you're going through your regular playthrough. All right, now digging in. On Mythic level 1, you're going to select Bit of Fun, which allows you to essentially create mirror images of yourself. And on the second Mythic rank, it's going to add a +3 circumstance bonus to all skill checks. And that's leading up to us selecting Trickster as the main Mythic path on level 3. For your level 1 Mythic ability, let's go ahead and get Abundant Casting. And then for level 2, go back into Extra Mythic ability and select Improved Abundant Casting. So at Mythic level 3, you get to choose what Mythic path you're going to follow. I would recommend you select Trickster. And then for your Mythic ability, I would get Enduring Spells. And then once you select your Mythic ability, you also get to select your first Mythic trick as a Trickster. I would select Perception rank 1, which puts you under a constant effect of seeing invisibility, and you're also able to find hidden items in unexpected places. At Mythic level 4, I would go back into Mythic ability and select Greater Abundant Spells. And then for your Mythic trick rank 1, I would choose Knowledge Arcana, and this ensures that every magical item that you identify has its enhancement bonus increased by 1. And then you also get a rank 2 Mythic trick. I would choose Perception once again, and this allows you to automatically detect creatures who attempt to use stealth, but it also allows you to select feats from a special Trickster list. And then at Mythic level 5, I would get Greater Enduring Spells. And then for your rank 1 Mythic trick, I would select Knowledge World. Whenever you or anyone within 50 feet from you make a skill check other than Knowledge World, you attempt a Knowledge World check to add half your Mythic rank to the original check. The DC of this check is equal to the check's original save DC. And then for the rank 2 Mythic trick, I would go with Knowledge Arcana. You can reveal hidden effects that can be used by wearers of magical equipment. Every item you identify gets an additional random minor effect. And then for your final Mythic feat, I would select Spell Penetration. And then for the rank 1 Mythic trick, I go Lore Nature. Even in the Worldwound, you can find yourself a healthy meal and some useful items. Every time you rest, you search the surrounding area, finding a random potion or a random scroll, and enough food to cook a common meal that will give you some benefits to all of your companions. And then for the final rank 2 Mythic trick, I go Knowledge World. You now know so much about the world that you understand that everything in this world is decided by dice, and you are good at dice. You have some very special dice that you will use from now on. Every time a member of your party would roll a 1 on a d20 roll, the result of the roll instead becomes 20. Okay, so now that we've selected everything, let's go ahead and look at the character overall. First and foremost, you get access to some really nice hexes. Slumber is absolutely fantastic at the beginning of the game, and Restless Slumber takes over and is another way to really take enemies out of the fight. Evil Eye is a great way to debuff a particular enemy, and Fortune gives a nice boost to a particular party member that you select. But outside of that, you are fantastic at damage. Being a Winter Witch, you get Unearthly Cold, which means as I mentioned before, your spell power cannot be reduced by immunity or resistance to cold-based attacks. You get Cold Specialization, which means the saving throw DC for all of your cold powers is increased by 1, and that bonus increases over time. And then you also get Freezing Cold, which ensures that your caster level is going to increase by 2 by the time that you're at 6 levels, specifically for cold spells. The abundant casting suite means that you're going to have a lot of spell slots to be able to cast all these fantastic cold spells. And then, of course, we get elemental focus cold to increase the DC for those particular spells even more. You do have some buffs because there are a couple of spell levels where there's downtime. Essentially, you don't have any good cold spells to be able to use there. So it's nice to have some buffs available for you. Enduring spells and greater enduring spells ensures that those buffs last for quite a long time for your team. We start with point blank shot and precise shot because you do get this elemental ray due to being an elemental witch. And so we want to make sure we're effective with that as it is a ranged touch attack. And one of the later cold powers that we'll see also is a ranged touch attack, so it assists us even at later levels. We take spell penetration and greater spell penetration because right around the time you are able to take this particular feat, we're going into Winter Witch, which automatically is increasing the difficulty check for our spells, so we can wait a little bit before we have to take spell focus. But once we've got the spell penetration feats, we go ahead and take spell focus for evocation, since obviously that's the vast majority of the types of spells we're going to use. And then this last feat is kind of a throwaway. You could put something else in there if you wanted to. I just always like the idea of being able to get the jump on enemies and blow them up right at the beginning of the fight. And then finally, Elf gives us an advantage of Elven Magic, which is going to give you a +2 racial bonus on caster level checks made to overcome spell resistance, as well as a little bit of a boost on Knowledge Arcana. So, I mean, technically, this order of spell penetration and spell focus, you could probably easily switch it out, but spell penetration, in my mind, it just made more sense. So looking at the spell book at level 1, you're going to need some mage armor, of course, a little bit, and then fill the rest up with snowball. Usually it wouldn't be all that great, but for you, it's actually going to be a pretty decent attack. Then at level 2, obviously you don't have particularly good cold spells to be able to use, so you want to use False Life on yourself to help keep yourself upright, and then See Invisibility is going to help your team out, revealing some of those invisible enemies, and then the rest can go into Bone Shaker. At level 3, same deal. You don't really have a good ice spell that you can use. You can use your evocation spell if you want, but I just go all in on heroism. Make sure that you can put heroism on all 6 of your team members, and with the mythic abilities that you've chosen, before too long, you'll be able to keep that on for 24 hours. And then having Dispel Magic can be nice against some specific enemies, being able to strip off all the protections that they have. At level 3, you're going to use the upgraded version of False Life, and then the rest will go into Ice Storm, maybe 1 or 2 cast of Dimension Door if you don't have anybody else in your team that can use that. At level 5, we've got another great ice spell, Icy Prison, and the cool thing about that is it does a little bit of damage, but you paralyze the enemy and encase it in ice, and so it's going to completely take enemies out of the fight. At level 6, you do have another nice ice spell, Cold Ice Strike. However, Heroism Greater is fantastic. It gives you a +4 morale bonus on attack rolls, saves, skill checks, immunity to fear, and temporary hit points equal to your caster level. So if you don't have anybody else that can cast this, you're going to need to go ahead and be that person. And then Dispel Magic Greater is pretty nice as well. Again, for those enemies that have a lot of protections on them that you want to go ahead and strip off. At level 7, you absolutely want Ice Body. It's going to give you immunity to cold. You will be vulnerable to fire, but honestly, that's not a big deal. You're going to get damage reduction, but more importantly, you're going to be immune to ability score damage, blindness, critical hits, disease, drowning, electricity, poison, stunning, and all spells or attacks that affect your physiology or respiration. That is huge. That is huge. That's a big deal. So definitely want to put that on there. And Chain Lightning, by this time, you're going to have both of the spell focus evocation feats. So it makes sense to go ahead, specialize in Chain Lightning. You're definitely going to be effective with that spell, despite it not being cold. And then at level 8, you're going to get Polar Ray, which is a fantastic damaging spell. Does up to 25d6 damage and does 1d4 points of dexterity drain on targets that you hit. Definitely want to load up on that, but you also want to have a couple of uses of Frightful Aspect, which is going to give you a +6 size bonus to strength, +4 to constitution, +6 natural armors bonus. But more importantly, it's going to give you a spell resistance equal to 10 plus half your caster level. In addition, you're going to emit an aura 30 feet from you. Enemy creatures within the aura are shaken, and each time a creature shaken by this aura hits you with a melee attack, the creature becomes frightened automatically for 1d4 rounds. So, frightful aspect is great for you to have. Of course, your mages should not be getting hit in melee, but sometimes it's absolutely unavoidable. So when it does happen, it's nice to have this on. And that altogether, I would say, makes her a real force to be reckoned with. Between the mythic tricks that you get being a trickster and all of the different cold spells that you have, and the increase to their power from you being a winter witch and an elemental witch, I think this is a very effective build and something that you can definitely get the whole game with. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Do you like this build? Is this something that you would use during a playthrough? Looking forward to hearing all the feedback. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.